Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two Twitter friends recommend media in the hopes the other will like it. This week, we discuss Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows and why we love stories about the angstiest children imaginable. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Layla.
Layla, so this week, I just barely managed to finish Six of Crows. We would have had an episode recorded yesterday, but things have been weird in the world, and I just was not able to get through a 500-page book in 2 days. So thankfully, you lent me your Audible app, and I was able to get through it last night, for which I'm very grateful.
Yes, Amazon was very upset that I was logging in from Indiana.
Yeah, I'm sure they were like, no, Layla, this is not possible. Jeff Bezos must know your location at all times. But yeah, you helped me get through Six of Crows, and Six of Crows is a story which revolves primarily around six, believe it or not, children, teenagers, but children nonetheless, that perform a magical heist in a fantasy world where people can do magic, and that's not necessarily a new thing. But I do really like the way that Six of Crows has their magic system set up, and like the whole crux of this is like there's this one person who can make a magic drug, basically like a powder or something that can enhance their magic abilities to make them like 100 times stronger. And that's the whole heist is these six criminals have to get this person, extract him from prison, and then bring him back for a reward. So, Layla, do you want to talk about why you wanted to recommend Six of Crows?
Yeah, because I've been recommending a lot of really wild anime to you, and I felt like I owed you a debt of reading something you would actually enjoy.
I still have nightmares about Princess Tutu, so...
You know, sometimes you recommend things and they work out, and then sometimes you recommend things and they give your friends nightmares, but...
Yeah.
You know, hopefully you actually enjoyed this one, because it seemed up your alley in terms of, like, books I could imagine Imagine Dragons giving a soundtrack song to.
Oh my god, I hate that you said that, but you're completely right. I can just, like, totally see, like, the team of these, like, little, baby warriors walking out to, like, Radioactive or some shit, or... Oh boy. You're completely right, and I did enjoy this book. I thought it was I thought the dialogue was pretty good. I really enjoyed the magic system. I thought there's not, I haven't read a lot of heist books. I mean, I've seen several heist movies, definitely, because those are, exciting. But this was definitely a new experience for me. Like, I'm usually more into, like, the big warfare and battles stuff, a la when you talked about Poppy War for Forever last time. But, like, this was a new one, and I really liked it. It reminded me a lot of Fonda Lee's Greenbones saga. Have you ever heard of Jade City?
I've heard of it. I've never read them.
Mm-hmm. So it's, like, kind of similar, except, like, it's basically just, like, fantasy Asians, and they just like run a crime syndicate in a city, and I definitely recommend that one if you did like Six of Crows, because it's like a very similar. It's like a lot of crime, a lot of like gangs and stuff, but everybody is aged appropriately. So do you want to just like talk about the characters, or should we just get into the fact that about their ages real quick?
Yeah, the funny thing about this book is that the anime rule of +5 applies.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that the whole time.
Because Kaz's nickname is Dirty Hands, and he is literally a gang leader, and Leigh Bardugo does so much legwork to be like, this boy man is a menace. Everyone is terrified of him. Everyone knows his name. He is Cass Dirty Hands Brecker, and he's got fuck your shit up. He runs like a angsty version of the Mystery Gang. And he's a baby.
He's 17 canonically.
And everything he does contradicts. Here, this is the thing, right? So this is part of a duology, and I'll give Miss Bardugo this. Mm-hmm. We talked, I think, a little bit last one of the last episodes, Time Isn't Real, we talked about the author being dead and how, like, sometimes characters kind of get away from you. That happens in Six of Crows, I feel like. Like, characters got away from Leigh Bardugo, and then she comes back in Crooked Kingdom, and it fucks so hard for no reason. Like, she fully leans in Crooked Kingdom, and are like, no, this is a baby. And I was like, this is, thank you for recognizing that you wrote me a child that I'm supposed to be afraid of, but I'm only afraid of him in that way of, like, that, like, John Mulaney joke way where you see a gang of teens across the way and you're an adult and you know they're going to point out your insecurities. Like, that man's got feminine hips. That's what I think about every time. Like, they're just going to make fun of me to death.
The thing that really got me was that, it's his, canonically, he drinks brandy, and I was like, alright, I'm done here. Like, he's a Jack the Ripper wannabe who needs to be aged up a minimum of 10 years.
I forgot that he drinks brandy, but that is hilarious because I am a 26-year-old woman who, like, tries to be cool, and I try to get into brandy for, like, a hot minute, and even I can't, and I'm 26. Like,
yeah, no, I typically, if I have to drink wine, I will cut it with soda, so, like, I am the complete opposite end of this, apparently.
That was the most aggressively Midwestern sentence I've ever heard.
Listen, we
So
we do it right down here. I didn't say pop, thankfully, because I'm not from that part of the Midwest.
Oh, don't come for pop. I say pop.
See, you're one of the bad ones.
I'm not. Oh shit. got real contentious.
No, got real Midwestern now.
Hey, I'm a Rust Belt baby. It happens.
But yeah, no, it's all right. Let's just talk about the characters because I think the characters all are pretty good. Well, not all. I think they all work as for what they're trying to be, for what Leigh Bardugo wrote them as. Like Kaz, I mean, for his faults, his fault being that he is far too young for what he's trying to pull off. He works effectively as like the criminal mastermind, the Sherlock Holmes, like always one step ahead of everyone, like pulling off the heists. It makes me very frustrated when I have to deal with like his borderline edginess. Like I think he's kind of annoying, but
it's very Hot Topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Like he is dangerously close to Sasuke territory. And,
no.
like, if you enter the Sasuke zone, there's, like, no going back, so you have to be very, very careful. But I don't think he goes into there, because we do actually get, like, stuff inside his head. It's not all just, like, oh, I have to avenge my brother. It's more like, oh, I'm feeling complicated feelings about other members of my party. Also, this book is incredibly horny. Like, wow.
Oh, Crooked Kingdom gets a little bit hornier.
Oh, boy.
It's not in, like, we've talked about this before. Not in like a weird teen, in a weird teen way for us, but not in a weird teen way for teens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one thing I want to add to the Kazbrecker, the very accurate description of Kazbrecker, my son that you gave, is, do you know who he reminds me of?
Oh no.
Is Artemis Fowl.
Oh my god! Holy shit! You're so right. He is extremely Artemis Fowl, but just like spent a little bit too long in the mall.
You just really, really got into Atreyu for a little while.
Exactly. Holy shit.
It's such horseshit. It's so funny. But, like, it's true, right? You're reading this entire book and there's these, like, you can tell they're teens being written by an adult woman, which is just very funny. But, like, it has that anime quality to it where, like, you know, you're Ash Ketchum and you're 10 years old and your mom's like, yeah, fuck off forever, whatever, it doesn't matter, I don't need you to check in.
Yeah, it's cool, it's fine.
Just that, but if it went to Hot Topic for a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, Kaz does have the edgiest backstory imaginable, so, like, I mean, I like what he does as a character, but I do think it's a little much for a 17-year-old. Although Inej is not that much better as far as edginess goes.
Yeah, let's talk about Inej.
Yeah, Inej is problematic.
I mean, she's my daughter and I love her, but
listen,
Jesus.
I think she's like one of my favorite characters. I don't know that Bardugo handles her particularly well. specifically with like the copper skin constantly, or the bronze skin being constantly brought up. And there is, you know, a history of exoticization of, you know, brown skinned individuals and like putting them in harems, and it's like you didn't have to put your 15-year-old brown girl into sexual slavery.
I don't think she particularly did well with. Oh my god, what is his name? With the scientist boy they pick up, the son of the scientist.
Yes. Shoot.
Kue Yulbo.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was great either.
Because he's just like, can't speak English, great, and he's really quiet, and an eccentric fantasy Chinese scientist. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah, there's some country and race stuff in here that's really weird. Like, they're just like, okay, well, we're gonna make the Nords, like, have tanks and be really militaristic and also bigots. You know, don't worry about it. They're
you know, like the Nazis.
Like the Nazis. They love
and also
wolves.
They're gonna discriminate against these, like, I couldn't tell if they were supposed to be like Roma or Russian witches.
I mean, they used witches. I think all of the thing is that, like, at the beginning, at least, when they're talking about the one, like, witch that gets high on this drug, like, she is described as being, like, very white, because, like, there's that guard who's talking about, like, thinking about how hot she is, and she's like, your skin is, like, white as whatever, and I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So, like, you know, I think they lean into these persecuted people being more white than, like, Romani, but it's still a little bit questionable. So
yeah, I would call it borderline very questionable. It made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, so, you know, do keep that in mind when you're reading this book. But, you know, like all media, it is, you know, you got to take what you can get. Like we talked about with Steel Crow Saga, I love that book, and also the Indians are bad in that one. So, but Inej is a very cool character. Like, I think there's like there is a problem that authors sometimes talk about in fantasy literature where, like, you have this, like, teen assassin, and, like, they're supposed to be, like, really cool and lethal, and, like, they have all these knives, and they have special names like Inej does. Oh yeah, definitely Russian. Holy shit. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about the knives. Like, she's definitely a Russian person, huh? Anyway, but, like, if you never like see them actually kill anyone, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't actually see you being this lethal assassin that you're made out to be, so, like, I'm not impressed. But I do think Inej does do a significant amount of, like, cutting people up, so I thought she did good. Again, like, it is a little bit borderline. Like, her nickname is the Wraith, which is like, we're getting close, right? We're getting close to the hot topic zone again. But I don't think it was too bad, especially with the way that her character arc turns at the end. Well, not the end, but, like, in the middle, where she's like, oh, these are my aspirations now, I want to do this. And then the end is actually not great, also, now that I'm thinking about it.
In defense of the Wraith,
mm-hmm.
That has to be a nickname Kaz gave her.
It is, yeah, no, it's explicitly one that he did.
So fine.
It's a little much, but yeah.
He is a little.
Yeah,
he's a bit much. No, but I agree with you. Like, she's very cool. I could do. I don't know. There's just this, like, exhausting thing about, like, the whole copper skin thing, and then on top of that, Leigh Bardugo, like, specifically made sure to talk about how, like, she has this, like, different religion with naming all her knives after saints and shit, and like, she used to be a circus performer, and then she was a prostitute when she was a teen. Like, a lot happened.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And I didn't like much of it, to be honest with you. But as long as we're talking about Kaz and then Inej, let's just talk about for one hot second again. I just want to return to Kaz, Dirty Hands Brecker, tough boy of the big street with the Crow gang. And as he is drowning, his entire thought process is like, man, I should be nicer to my girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. Like, his whole... That's why I got such heavy Sasuke vibes. It was just like, oh man, there's one woman in my life that I care for. I should probably not treat her badly.
Oh, does he even have that revelation?
well, at the end, he says, like, I want you, right? And then she's like, no, you're not good enough for me, I don't think.
No, I'm talking about Sasuke.
Oh, yeah, Sasuke. Oh, Sasuke never has that revelation.
Oh, never mind. Fuck him. Yeah, no, Inej really powerful statement of, like, the fuck you, honestly.
Yeah, I did love that. I was like, yeah, good. Because all of the women in this book are better than the men in their lives. So let's see. There's Wylan, and I'm just going down the list. But I liked Wylan a lot. Wylan was one of my favorite characters. I'm a sucker for like a little nerd who's out of his depth and is just like trying to make his way in the world. And I thought he was neat.
He's a neat little baby. There's more to say about him in Crooked Kingdom. I'm like trying really hard to separate the two books in my head because I did read them back to back while I was working on Undone. Like I was just mainlining audiobooks during my shifts. So
yeah.
But Wylan is basically just like a useless rich boy, but he's just trying his best. Mm-hmm. He really is. But Wylan, so everyone in this spoiler. Everyone in this series gets paired off. So, like, Wylan and Jasper have some chemistry.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Jasper Fahey for a second. He's a teen with a gambling addiction.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. He is a teen with a gambling addiction. I didn't think about that. But, yeah, his whole thing is like, oh, I need the money because I'm really bad at cards, and I love to play cards also. And I'm 16 years old.
Yes, and he like dropped out of school, and it's a whole thing. And we find out he has magic powers, and
oh yeah,
it's just it is such. These characters can be such clusterfucks sometimes. Like so much happens to each one of them that you have to kind of pick and choose like two adjectives that you're gonna go for, right? So like, for me, Jasper, I'm like funny. Oh, he's also black. He's a black man with black boy with a gambling addiction. Let's just get...
His whole thing is also that he's, like, uses guns as his weapon, which is,
Ma'am?
Miss Bardugo, that's not great.
Ma'am, your gang sharpshooter is a black boy with guns?
With a gambling addiction, who dropped out of school. Man, Layla... Uh-oh. This is taking a turn now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you have to digest it, and you have to take it for what it is, and sometimes what it is bad.
Yeah.
But there are things from this book which we can pull that are good to talk about.
Yeah.
Though, let's put it this way, if you have a much lower bar for bullshit than we do, maybe not this book for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like because we've watched so much anime as children, we just like accept problematic things much more easily than like maybe Gen Z does, which isn't necessarily better, right? I do think that it's admirable to be like, no, I'm actually not going to consume your bad media. But you know what?
Let's get through
the worst pairing. Yeah.
Nina and Matthias, and then let's wind back to this conversation because it is relevant to pop culture right now.
Oh yeah, I saw. Yeah, Twitter. Good. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Let's talk about Nina and Matthias. Let's save Matthias for last.
Yeah. Okay. Nina is, I think, my favorite character in this. I love anybody with cool magic, and she has like specifically like anatomical magic. Like she's a heart render, which is like she can slow people's pulses or knock them out, or like at one point she threatens to make Kaz piss his pants. And at that point I was like, oh, you're the coolest character in here. Why aren't you running the whole world? Like, it doesn't make any sense that you hang out with Kaz, who's like kind of a shitty little dude, when you can like literally explodes people's hearts in their chests. So that, I think she's very cool, and I like Nina so much because she's like actually fun and like funny. And like they don't give her and Inej enough screen time, I feel like, but from what we did get, I thought their friendship was really good.
Their friendship is excellent. You get a little bit more of it in Crooked Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And I love Nina because, one, she reminds me of, like, a cool cousin I would have. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, she's again, although the witches are, like, very coded to be, again, either, like, Slavic or Roman. It's really hard to tell what's happening here. Mm-hmm. But, her introduction is just, like, lounging in an office, tits out, snacking on pastries.
Yeah, it's extremely funny. She's just like, all right, I'm done with my therapy. I'm just gonna eat. I don't care about you being here, Kaz. Yum, yum, yum.
She gets really upset when you promise her sweets and don't deliver. Like,
I'm a sucker, but I love being hungry as a character trait.
Her priorities are absolutely straight, and they're amazing. And I will cut Miss Bardugo some slack here because she is described as like fuller figured, and I know that's usually code for like tits and ass.
Yeah.
But a lot of fandom art does interpret her as being like a little bit rounder, which I'm like, fuck yeah. And if she's hungry and it's not like nobody makes fun of her for being hungry as a trait,
yeah,
I'll fuck with it. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
And she's still like hot. Like, she is perceived as like the hot one. She is the
exactly.
Daphne.
The Daphne. Yeah, that's about right. If Daphne can make your eyeballs explode in your head. Yeah. The problem is that she is paired off with the Fred of these six.
He doesn't.
By name of Matthias.
We can't disgrace Freddie Prinze Jr. like that. He's not the Fred. I don't know.
That's true.
He's one of the fucking ghouls.
Yeah, no. Fred is a himbo. Matthias is a borderline white supremacist.
He is. It sucks. Oh my god.
He's so bad.
So, context. Matthias and Nina used to know each other. And
they met each other once for 3 weeks. They had a 3-week hiking trip where they like slept naked together.
Yeah. Yep. Just remembering that part. And at the end of it, Nina like pretty much gets him arrested on false testimony, and now he fucking hates her.
Yeah. Because it like ruined his chances of being in the SS.
Yes, because it ruined his chances of being in the SS. And naturally, so the whole book starts out with them. Why do they need him? Do you remember?
To give Nina a boyfriend. I mean, we can't have too many, moments with the women together. So.
That's true. I don't remember why the fuck they bust him out of prison or whatever the fuck.
Oh, because he has knowledge of the ice court, like because he used to that's where he did all his training and shit. So that's why he's in there.
Yeah, so they could have seduced literally any other like borderline Nazi, but no, they had to go back for the one with a grudge, and basically spends the entire book like exhaustingly just like shitting on Nina.
He's extremely horny for her at the same time, and it's just like so annoying.
It's you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Frollo and Esmeralda.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's extremely apt. Almost down to the Romani bit, which is problematic. But he's just like, I've sworn my whole life to destroy this order of magic people, but this one's really hot, and I don't know what to do about it.
Yep, and it sucks so bad because the power imbalance between them was like the societal power imbalance between them was like never addressed.
Yeah,
it's just like eventually the horniness overcomes him, and she's like, oh, maybe she is a people.
Yeah, like that's his whole big revel. That's like the end of his character arc in the first book is like, well, if she did a good thing, then she is human, so that's good. It's like a great dog, fucking crushed it, I guess.
Yeah, good for you, Matthias. Can't wait to see you again in the second book. Fuck you, dude.
Does he get better in the second book?
I mean, yes, but not in the way that you think.
Oh, no. Alright, we'll see. I might have to borrow your Audible again.
Do it to it. Read the second one. You'll see what I mean.
Oh, no. That is not a strong endorsement.
No, it is.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real cryptic about that one for a while.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, Matthias sucks dick ass. On a scale of like,
with Sasuke at number 1, and who's the best at number 10? Who's the best?
I was just the best boy. Or are we doing like a worst to best?
I'm saying if you're like worst shittiest dude at number 1 and bestest goodest boy at number 10.
Who's the bestest boy? That's so hard.
Oh gosh.
Oh, you haven't watched Haikyuu, but it is Hinata.
Okay, I'll accept that. I've seen your enthusiastic tweets.
He's a really good boy. Either Hinata or like Gon from Hunter x Hunter, like Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, I've seen a little bit of Hunter x Hunter. I get it. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Gon.
Sure.
We're gonna go Sasuke to Gon. So I would rate Matthias if Sasuke is a 10 and Gon is a 1. 9.8.
He's getting like, there, huh?
Right fucking there. I hated his chapters so bad because getting inside his head is it's literally it's there. You won't get through any plot in a Matthias chapter. All you're gonna get through is like a dogged head turn of like Nina bad, Nina hot, Nina very bad, but hot, but bad, but titty. And like that's it.
I mean, you're completely right.
Nothing happens in a Matthias chapter. You're just ruminating on a teenager's body, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to be with my other children that are like shitty but better, like than you. You know,
they're shitty but in a fun way. You're shitty in a fascist way.
Oh, I gotta say, I think also Matthias is older than
he's 18.
No, he's 18.
Yeah,
but they're all like, how old is Cass? He's 17.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, no, it's explicitly stated that Matthias is 18. He's like, oh, I think I'm older than all these dorks.
But yeah, Matthias sucks dick ass on like a Sasuke scale. And it's the fact that you have to keep hearing about him in Crooked Kingdom while there are other babies to pay attention to.
Yeah,
inexcusable.
That's no good. I thought that there were plenty of other interesting characters, especially female characters that we could have focused on. Instead, we did sort of put Inej at peril to make her, you know, the object for the male protagonist's, motivation. And then we also, the other woman did develop a serious drug addiction there at the end. So,
Inej does get hurt again, now that I think about it. Well, she doesn't get hurt, she gets kidnapped at the beginning.
Wait, I thought she was already kidnapped.
No. Well, was she?
Yeah, she gets. They do all the money. They do the money exchange.
Oh, and then she stays kidnapped right through the end of the book.
Yes.
Right. So the beginning of Crooked Kingdom is the retrieval of Inej, and there's a lot of, how do I put this? You haven't watched Inuyasha yet, so this is like. This is a very particular reference I'm about to make, but in Inuyasha, the protagonists have this habit. It's Inuyasha, the main protagonist, and Kagome, his like female lead, and they have this habit of Kagome will get kidnapped or hurt or something. Well, Inuyasha will actually do some dumb shit sometimes too, so it's, gender, it's fine. It balances out. But every time something happens to one or the other, they just yell each other's names a lot. And it's incredible. It's an art form in and of itself. The kidnapping and the heist to bring her back has the same energy as them just screaming each other's names. Like don't get me wrong, she does try to escape on her own a couple of times, but like, don't give me like a clever assassin whose entire role is to just like build up her goth boyfriend, which is rather unfortunately what happens in this book.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It is a stupid bummer. So, as I appropriately sip my tea, let's rewind to the how we were talking about what was the lead-in?
Accepting problematic like characters and narratives, like what the threshold is for that, because we were talking about how I feel like Gen Z is a little bit less willing to deal with bullshit as we grew up on anime, which is full of bullshit.
You shouldn't like Harry Potter anymore.
Oh.
That's...
Yeah.
Hey. Listen. I have an incredible tolerance for bullshit, as we see by the discussion of this book, because I do still love the children, despite the problematic treatment of them by a white, cis female author. However, when you have a woman who has built a fucking billion-dollar fortune off of a mediocre series that is the basis of a bunch of millennial personalities, that is blatantly anti-Semitic, and then also the author tries to benefit off the clout of them posthumously to the books, saying, oh yeah, this old man who has never even showed a homo trait in his life is super gay, even though we're even in the follow-up movies where he's young and of like a age to do things of a sexual nature, is never going to reveal attraction to a man he was supposedly in love with the entire time. And also, my goblins are anti-Semitic examples of what I think Jewish people are like. And also, while we're at it, let's make sure that my Asian character is 2 last names and only exists to date people. And also, let's
talk about the Patels real quick.
Let's talk about the Patels real quick. What the fuck was that?
We needed 2 Indian people, in the United Kingdom, where there's very few Indian people because of colonialism. So let's just throw in 2 people with Hindu goddess names and then Patel, because that's the only...
Hey, J.K. Rowling. Hey, Google existed back then. You could have gone to babynames.com like the rest of us do.
Your phone's in airplane mode, so I can't help you with that at the moment.
Hey, Joanne, do you see how helpful she is? You could have, 2020, baby, you could just ask her now for your new shit, but no one wants to read your new shit because you're a TERF. And that sucks, dude. Hey, don't like Harry Potter anymore? And no, you can't say that Hatsune Miku wrote Harry Potter, because guess what? J.K. Rowling's capital L liberal shitty white rich politics are interwoven through the entire narrative, and every time you buy a copy you give her money. So hey, instead of Harry Potter, why don't you read something a trans person wrote instead? Thank you. This has been a public service announcement from someone who's sick of talking about a rich white woman in the UK. Thank you for your time.
I mean, I don't know that I can follow that up. That was very impressive.
Thank you. I've been thinking about it for days. I'm really tired of thinking about J.K. Rowling. But, and then you look at Leigh Bardugo, who's, a newer voice. She's a bunch of books, actually. She writes very quickly. She released,
I mean, that's commendable.
She writes super fast. Her new books are just popping out of this woman. It's problematic and frustrating when you take a really deep look into it, but there's enough there, and she's early enough in her career and her platform, and I think don't quote me on this, has expressed interest in being better, that you can engage critically with content like this. But then when you come to J.K. Rowling, or for example Rainbow Rowell, who I mentioned earlier, she wrote an extremely, from the coverage that I read, I never actually read the book, she wrote an extremely kind of John Green-esque book that really exotifies, is that a word? The Asian love interest. In a really exploitative and gross way, and has never apologized for it. And in fact continues to perpetuate some kind of shitty stereotypes in her current writing, which is all about gay men, and I'm like, okay, well, fine. But you can engage critically with stuff like that, but when you have a series that's 30 years old and the author continues to be an asshole, you have to really reevaluate how much you want to continue to engage with that property. It's okay to have nostalgia for it, but I don't know, if Leigh Bardugo came out tomorrow and was like, men can't yeah, if she came out tomorrow and said that, I would be like, maybe I'll donate my copies.
I think, right, we talk about the death of the author all the time, but there is something to be said about intentionality, right? If the author is still alive and they are still trying to expand on their canon or try to make adjustments after the book is already, that ship's already sailed, right, you do have to sort of take their intentions in mind. And right, maybe Leigh Bardugo didn't, think a whole, like, incredibly critically about the negative stereotypes she was putting into her book. But I don't think, at least from what I know, it doesn't seem intentional. It doesn't seem like, somebody trying to put an agenda into their book. And that's not to say that books don't or shouldn't have agendas, but like, the weird bad stereotypes that are in Six of Crows, like, I think are byproducts of somebody who has been exposed to those stereotypes and hasn't really thought about them critically, right? If you are a white person, right, you just sort of take it for granted, and you don't, unless you talk about it and get a little bit older and we'll get Twitter, you're not really going to be able to, you don't think about it as consciously as much, right? But then when we get situations where an author does intentionally, vocally, unrepentantly talk about their political beliefs, and you can take those political beliefs and look back on their existing work, like, you gotta take that into account, right? Like, sometimes a work is more than just the sum of what the words that make it up are.
Yeah. And I mean, like, okay, so you and I are both working on a story when the world isn't on fire, right? When I read that portion of your book that you sent me, it is just, no matter the outward agenda that it may or may not have, it is still very clearly written through a certain lens. And, like, knowing you as a person, I could see that lens. It is a very fuck you Britain anti-colonialist war nerdery romp that could very easily be soundtracked by Imagine Dragons.
Why did you say that again to me? A good person who's never done anything wrong on the week of my wedding. I can't believe you would do this to me.
You're fine. But I'm right. So you are
right. I just wish you weren't.
You made them anyway. You made me listen to it. It was fine. Listen, it's catchy as hell. I won't shit on it. And then, like, if you read the story that I'm working on, it's, like, very clearly written through the lens of, like, someone who maybe has been through some shit and enjoys the concept of romance. Like, that's a very clear, it's hard to talk about my own, like, biases and agenda because I don't have, like, an outside view on it. But still, like, those are things that unintentionally leak in. And, like, we were talking about Paul Kruger literally turning to the camera and going, use your fucking blinkers. Mm-hmm. The artist bleeds through. So, yeah, you just have to be careful of what you engage in. And if, you can't put everything through a purity test because you can't put people through a purity test. Everyone is going to say something stupid. Everyone is going to have a bias that they have to work on. But the question is, are they working on that bias? One. And two, are you engaging with like, even if you love something, like I love Princess Tutu, but I have to engage with it critically because it sometimes sucks in places. And same thing when we talk about anything we've talked about so far that either of us have enjoyed. Like, you have to just engage with it in a critical way, not only to hold yourself accountable, but also to kind of hold the like, next generation of artists accountable, right? So, like, things sell to markets that want them, and so when you talk about professional artists, you have to be vocal enough about your critical engagement, in order to make other people more vocal with their critical engagement, and make audiences aware, and make producers aware of what people want in terms of mass market media. And I think the best example of that is what happened with Voltron, if you remember.
Vaguely. I know there was some queer baiting going on.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of queer baiting and also quite a bit of dead husbands. But basically, the creators of Voltron kicked down the doors at San Francisco Comic-Con a couple of years ago and were like, you guys wait till you see the homos that we have. And they basically made Shiro, who is a Asian leader of a team, they put him through the most traumatic experiences of the whole team, and then they killed his boyfriend. And then, like, didn't really give him a new one, and then the fandom at large kept, like, he was, by the way, 25, so he was our age. The fandom at large kept pairing him up with, like, his teenage cohorts, which was gross.
That's no good.
And then, Voltron crawled so that She-Ra could run. Because She-Ra came from the same DreamWorks TV animation production studio and ended in, like, full-on lesbians. And that is, one, because I think DreamWorks TVA probably felt a little bit of a backlash, and two, because Noelle Stevenson fought like hell. So, what I'm trying to get at is the responsibility of creators to speak to their vision, but it is also a responsibility of audiences to have a level of media literacy to be like, hey, we really like the story you're telling, but can you maybe, like, not make your brown girl a sex slave?
Yeah, I am always a fan of not putting brown girls in danger. I think the best example of this phenomenon is the McElroy brothers, right? I have listened to the Mabim Bam back catalog probably more than I've listened to my parents speak. I love my parents, but my parents aren't the McElroy brothers, and sometimes I wish they were. But those first 130 or so episodes have some shit in them. And the McElroy brothers have been very upfront and honest about that. And they've been like, yeah, we've said some racist, sexist shit in the past, and we are sorry for that, and we're different people, and we don't do it anymore. I mean, in Adventure Zone, right, when Griffin fridged, what's her name? The Raven, right? There was a lot of pushback on that, and Griffin was like, okay, I understand why you're upset about this. And then he unfridged her there at the end. Right, and, I have a lot of thoughts about how the McElroy fandom can get a little bit out of control sometimes. I think that there is a segment that is constantly trying to find flaws within their work, but that's not really what I'm trying to get at right here. What I am trying to say is, like, I think that's a pretty good example of, like, this new era of media we're in, where fans can communicate directly to their creators. It's not really the same as far as authors go, because authors don't necessarily engage as much on Twitter as, like, podcast hosts, and it's not nearly as easy to change a book as it is a podcast. But I think we are going to see in the next couple decades, right, fandoms, we're already seeing it, right? That's why the Snyder Cut got released, right? Fandoms are increasingly having more and more control over that, and I think for the large part that's a good thing. I think at least as far as, like, media for younger folks goes, because younger folks want to see themselves represented. They want to see justice. They want to see a world in which the characters they care about are treated fairly, right? And we can talk about Rise of Skywalker. I mean, that is an example of bad fandom response, but, like,
I've literally been sitting on that the entire time you've been talking. I'm like, are we gonna have to talk about Star Wars? And now here we are.
I'm sorry, Layla. I wrote about half of a fan fiction because I hated Rise of Skywalker so much. It's so fucking bad. I mean, yeah, right. What can we say, right? Fandoms hold immense power, especially now when we have much more of an ability to communicate with creators. And I think we as fans, I think of us both as creators and fans, right? As fans of works, we have a responsibility to hold our creators that we care about to account. I loved Harry Potter as a child. Probably not gonna go see that next Fantastic Beasts movie. Not that I had seen Crimes of Grindelwald, but at the same time, we also have to take it upon ourselves to look at what our creators are doing and be like, hey, is it necessary for me to say I want this thing and I'm going to scream at you until I get it? Like, I don't know. Like, occasionally I'll get mad at video game developers because of some, DLC shit that I think is shady, and I'll tweet at their account, but I'm not going to dox them. I'm not going to, like, look at personal, like, dev teams and be like, okay, I need to email this person personally and issue them death threats. I'm not going to be the person who's like, wow, I really hated that there is a Vietnamese woman in Star Wars 8, so I want you to write her out of the story. Right, I think that is something that we're going to see in the upcoming decades, right? The tension between creators and fans, and hopefully we will get some sort of literacy about the responsibility of fans to their creators and vice versa.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And I think Rise of Skywalker is, like, the best example because it truly was just, like, backlash to the second movie.
The Rian Johnson, Episode 8.
Yeah, thank you.
Last Jedi.
Yeah, Last Jedi. It was truly fan of backlash to Last Jedi that made Rise of Skywalker what it is. I'm going to tell you right now, I have not seen Rise of Skywalker. Why? Because I haven't been on a plane since it went on...
That's such a good answer. I love that.
That is where I watched the new trilogy on an aeroplane, and I have not done much traveling lately. So I have not seen Rise of Skywalker, and honestly, after all the commentary on it, I'm fucking not going to, because I didn't really get invested in Star Wars ever, and that's not a fault of the movies or anything. I just, it's hard to catch up when you're an immigrant, so it just kind of missed it, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sure I would like it if I tried, but I don't feel like it. So I would mostly like it because Luke Skywalker does show up in Chanel boots and a cape at some point, and I think that's very iconic. But that being said, like, yeah, there's no reason to vilify individuals. Not to mention a lot of the people that go, like, ham on doxing, like, people and sending threats, they don't really understand how a production pipeline works. Those people don't. The creative decisions don't always sit with who you think they sit. There's always someone else. There's always another call being made, and listen, teams may not get a say. Like, if somebody emailed me and was like, hey, Episode 3 of Undone, I really hated, I don't know, Tomas was just too chiseled. Like, I wouldn't know what to say about that. Be like, well, somebody told me to do it, and I was being paid, and I didn't have any creative say, so, like, what do you... Not to mention, and then on the opposite end is, like, when productions do something problematic, like with Voltron, actually, when productions do something problematic, people are like, well, the animator should have walked out. Those people have fucking families.
Like, are you gonna pay their rent?
What are you talking about?
Shut the fuck up. We live in capitalism.
You can be cranky about all you want, but they have families to feed. So, it's just... There's just... Hollywood has done so much work to... And publishing also has done so much work to make the entire process opaque, especially for newcomers. If you are interested in publication and animation and game dev background, there are great hashtags trending right now, which are just like animation paid me, publishing paid me, and game dev paid me, where you can see what people are making. Fun fact, the darker the color of your skin, the funkier those numbers look.
One exception was that Roshni Chokshi, who wrote the Aru Shah series of books for kids, got paid a fuckload, and that's because that particular trilogy is backed by the one and only Rick Riordan. So that dude's fucking legit.
Hey, you want to be an ally, J.K. Rowling? You want to get your shit together? Be like Rick Riordan. He fucks. He's great. Everything I hear about that man is so cool. Also, shout out to Seth Rogen. Not
Seth Rogen.
Not something I ever thought I would be saying, but he is just kind of saying fuck you to fans of his who are, like, against the protest right now.
Oh yeah, I love that. He's just like, fuck you, don't watch my movies. They're too good for you, you scum.
Yeah, thank you, Seth Rogen. You're doing the ally work.
Listen, your weed movies are not that good, but keep making them, I guess, if you're gonna use your money responsibly.
Yeah, hell yeah, whatever. Capitalism's broken anyway. But yeah, just to wrap that conversation up, it's like, I hope that with the democratization of information with the internet, I hope that people invest a little bit more time in like media literacy, especially considering how much information and content there is out there, and all the individual creators that make all the content. How to like parse for yourself what to engage with and how to engage with it, and when is it necessary to send a creator a letter or an email being like, hey, I think you handled this really problematically, or when is it necessary to maybe not do that. You know, you have to really just like learn how to conduct yourself as part of a fandom. And I think that millennials struggle with this because we straddle the line between the old guard and the new guard, in the sense that like fandom originated with like female Star Trek fans making zines at conventions, and now we grew up in like Harry Potter fanfiction era, and then now Gen Z is coming up, and God, I hope they're better than us, because I've seen some shit in my day, and there is nothing like being able to parse the sentence, the artist who drew trans Thomas Jefferson with a Hatsune Miku binder, and know exactly what that person is talking about, and never want to hear that sentence again.
Thanks, Layla, for reminding me about the internet.
Gen Z, please be better. We olds are imploring you, please.
Do we want to do plugs, or do you want to talk about what we're gonna do next week?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about next week. So it's gonna be kind of a funky week for us. Not for you, Nick, our one listener.
Yeah, shout out to Nick. Is that his name?
Yeah.
I fucking love you, man. Wherever you are, you're a real one.
Thanks, Nick. I hope you listen to this one and enjoy it. Yeah, so it's going to be kind of a fun week. We do try to release on Mondays, but this week was kind of rough. And next week, as Aaron kind of alluded to earlier, he's getting married this weekend.
What's up?
And then I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed.
Not quite as exciting, but still going to be just as detrimental to the podcast.
Yes, so we're going to... we mutually decided to kind of pull another... thing where we watch something we both haven't seen and just talk about it. So tomorrow we're both going to watch Akira, as in the classic 1980s anime, and then we're going to come back, we're going to talk about it. I'm sure we're going to have plenty to say. And then that episode will be released also next Monday, so you won't miss us at all while we are, Aaron will be celebrating and I will be recovering, so we'll be fine.
Alright. Layla, where can people find you on the internet?
At LEYLSES on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. Also my comic at astrohotcomic.com. We're approaching the meet cute, so if you want to see homos being homo, please come hang. That'll be fun.
You can find me at AaronSXL on Twitter. You can find this podcast at Aaron S on YouTube. I'm also moving over my other podcast, My Brother's Friend and Me, to a different YouTube channel, which is just My Brother's Friend and Me. Me and my friends did do a tier ranking of the books of the Old Testament, which was extremely fun and for a very specific audience. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, Nick, hit us up.
Sorry, Nick, we're going to be targeting you until
we get a second listener, and then we're going to target them.
It's going to be great.
All right, Layla. I think we should end up with one of the classic quotes from Six of Crows. No mourners, no funerals.
Fuck.
Hell yeah.